Every morning, before I even open my eyes fully, I feel a quiet warning rising in my chest. Most people start the day already losing. They don't lose because of what they do, but because of what they whisper to themselves in those first fragile moments. And today, I want to break that pattern in you before it silently shapes the next 24 hours of your life. A billionaire rabbi once told me that the first words you speak to your wallet each morning can either invite miracles or choke them before they ever form. That truth struck me like cold water, and it may do the same to you right now. He said, almost in a whisper, that the universe listens most closely when you are half awake. That is when your words slip beneath the surface of your consciousness and settle into the roots of your destiny. I remember feeling a shiver of fear when I first heard it. How many mornings had I wasted? How many chances had I unknowingly suffocated with a sentence tossed carelessly into the air? The rabbi told me that money, like breath, responds to intention. It is not just paper in your pocket. It is a spiritual instrument waiting for direction. And if you fail to direct it, it directs you. But here's where things become even more unsettling. He also claimed that 90% of people speak phrases that accidentally anchor them to scarcity. They wake up saying things like, "It's fine, I guess I'll manage, same day as always," and without realizing it, they program the next hours to obey those lifeless declarations. That was the moment he leaned closer and said, "If you want miracles, you cannot afford to speak like a person who expects nothing." Before we go any deeper, I want you to do something simple, but symbolically powerful. I'm ready for abundance. Do it not for me, but for yourself. Writing it makes you accountable to your own intention. It marks the moment your voice chooses expansion over resignation. The rabbi taught me that a spoken truth is strong, but a written truth is anchored. And I want you anchored to growth before we take the next step. Because what I'm about to reveal is not common knowledge, and it was not given to me casually. It came from a lineage of spiritual discipline, where words were treated like seeds and the wallet like a garden. You will soon understand why this ancient practice survived generations of hardship, exile, rebuilding, and unimaginable prosperity. It is not superstition, it is craftsmanship of the soul. So breathe for a moment. Feel the weight of your wallet wherever it is, on a table, in a pocket, maybe forgotten in another room. You will never look at it the same way after today. And before I show you what to do with it each morning, you need to understand why this simple ritual holds such power, and why ignoring it could quietly cost you more than you think. I grew up hearing that money is merely a tool, something practical, emotionless, neutral. But the billionaire rabbi shattered that idea the first time he looked me in the eyes and said, softly but firmly, that money carries the warmth or coldness of the hand that holds it. In Jewish wisdom, he explained, money is not just currency, it is condensed intention. It remembers where it came from, and it listens to where it's being guided. That single notion reframed my entire understanding of abundance, because it meant prosperity wasn't about luck, effort alone, or even timing. It was about the spiritual tone of your relationship with what you already have. Ancient texts whisper something astonishing, that money responds to the emotional atmosphere around it. When you treat it with fear, it hides. When you treat it with resentment, it resists. But when you treat it with dignified gratitude, it expands. That's why the rabbi said the wallet is a sanctuary in miniature, not in a dramatic, mystical sense, but in a quiet, disciplined way, because it contains the symbols of your exchange with the world. Every bill, every card, every receipt you forget inside it is a trace of a decision, a dream, a risk, or a prayer answered. He then told me something his grandfather taught him. An old man who survived crises, rebuilt fortunes, and carried a spiritual elegance that no disaster could destroy. A man who speaks of money with fear invites fear. A man who speaks of money with respect invites order. But a man who speaks of money with hope invites blessing. That sentence lingered in me for years, echoing each time I felt scarcity creeping into my thoughts. Because hope in that tradition is not passive. Hope is an active declaration that you expect the world to meet you with generosity. Most people unknowingly live in the opposite rhythm. They talk about their finances as if they are doomed before they begin. They tell themselves, it's never enough, I'm stuck, nothing changes, and then accept the heaviness that follows. But in spiritual psychology, every phrase becomes a mirror. When you speak limitation, your mind looks for ways to prove you right. When you speak growth, your mind searches for opportunities to match your words. That is why the rabbi warned me that the most dangerous mistake is assuming money is separate from the soul. When you disconnect the two, you start treating money like an enemy or a puzzle instead of a collaborator. You begin reacting instead of guiding. And without guidance, your financial life drifts like a boat without a captain. Moving, yes, but never arriving anywhere meaningful. This leads us into a truth most people overlook. A truth that quietly sabotages the way they speak every single day. There are 3 specific errors that suffocate the flow of prosperity before it even has a chance to form. And the first one is hiding in the most familiar sentence you probably say without noticing. The first error is so ordinary, so harmless sounding that most people repeat it without even feeling the slight tremor it causes in their destiny. The billionaire rabbi called it the quiet assassin of abundance. And it begins with a phrase almost everyone uses. It's okay. Those 2 soft words seem polite, peaceful, even mature, but spiritually, they are a declaration of stagnation. When you say it's okay, you are not describing your situation, you are sealing it. You are telling the universe that you require nothing more, expect nothing more, and are prepared to live exactly as you are. That sentence, he warned me, is the linguistic equivalent of closing a door you didn't know was open. I remember the first time he explained this to me. We were sitting in a small study lined with ancient books, the air thick with the scent of old parchment and warm tea. He asked me how I was doing, and I answered automatically, I'm okay. He froze, not dramatically, but with the stillness of someone who hears a violin string snap in the distance. Then he leaned in and whispered, do you truly want nothing more from life? That question hit me harder than I expected. Because I didn't mean I'm okay as a statement of contentment. I meant it as a shortcut, a safe phrase, a way to dodge vulnerability. But the universe, he said, doesn't parse your intentions. It responds to your declarations. To make his point, he told me a story about a childhood neighbor, a man who worked tirelessly, built a modest business, and kept repeating, I'm fine, I don't need anything else. He said it with pride, believing it showed humility. But within 3 quiet days, his business suffered a series of blows. A contract collapsed, a machine failed, a shipment was delayed. He had unconsciously declared that he had reached his limit, the rabbi said, and life simply honored it. The rabbi once told me that the most dangerous moment in a person's journey is not when they are struggling, but when they finally start rising. That rise, he said, carries a subtle poison. The illusion of safety. And this illusion gives birth to the second great error, the mistake of lowering your guard the moment life begins to open its hands to you. Prosperity, he whispered, is never lost in a storm. It's lost in the sun, when the traveler believes the weather will stay gentle forever. He described it with a simple saying from his grandfather, a crocodile that sleeps becomes a handbag. The humor made me laugh the first time, but the reality behind it hit me in the stomach. Nature punishes complacency. Life, in its own way, does the same. When someone escapes scarcity and breathes a little easier, they often relax in the worst moments possible. They stop speaking victory with intention. They stop planning. They stop respecting the flow that lifted them. And without noticing, they drift into a soft form of arrogance, the belief that progress is self-sustaining. I saw this unfold once with a young man the rabbi mentored. After years of discipline and spiritual alignment, the man began earning more money than he ever had. But instead of deepening the rituals that brought him there, he loosened them. He stopped blessing his mornings. He stopped expressing gratitude. He stopped checking his wallet with reverence. He assumed he had graduated from the basics. And within weeks, he found himself burdened with unexpected expenses, dropped opportunities, and a creeping sense of chaos he couldn't explain. When he returned to the rabbi, embarrassed, the old man simply asked, "Why did you stop feeding the fire that warmed you?" But beyond spiritual symbolism, the psychology behind this is strikingly logical. When the brain detects improvement, it begins reallocating energy. It assumes the problem has been solved. So it reduces vigilance, motivation, and creative scanning. You start missing signs. You stop thinking strategically. You take fewer small risks, the very risks that once carried you upward. Neuropsychologists call this achievement fatigue, a moment when the mind confuses progress with completion. And spiritually, completion equals closure. Closure blocks flow. The rabbi said something I never forgot. Financial blessing is a living creature. Treat it with respect and it grows. Treat it with indifference and it slips away. That sentence changed the way I handled abundance. I began to realize that prosperity is not a destination. It's a rhythm, a dance between intention and action. The moment you believe you've already won, you stop dancing, and the music fades. So here is a quiet truth you must carry. The universe rewards movement, not rest disguised as confidence. Gratitude is holy, but complacency is fatal. Which brings us to the third and most treacherous error, the one that doesn't just weaken abundance, but deceives the soul into believing it doesn't need to grow at all. The rabbi once told me that if I truly wanted to understand the power of spoken intention, I shouldn't study theories, I should study people. Watch the ones who change, he said. They are the real scriptures. And so he began sharing stories of ordinary lives quietly transformed by a single shift in morning words. The one that stayed with me most was about a woman named Luzia, a soft-spoken grandmother who used to clean the synagogue floors before sunrise. Her life had been marked by scarcity, not dramatic tragedy, but the slow, exhausting weight of never having enough. Every morning she would mutter phrases like, "I'll manage somehow," or "It's just life," without realizing she was carving those limits into the day ahead. One morning, the rabbi found her sitting alone in the courtyard, rubbing her hands together with worry. A bill had arrived that she couldn't pay, and she felt too ashamed to ask anyone for help. Instead of offering money, the rabbi asked her a question. "What words did you feed your morning today?" She didn't understand. He gently placed her hand on her wallet and whispered the phrase he had taught me. "Thank God I'm working and developing." She repeated it hesitantly, almost embarrassed. Then he told her to say it again the next morning, and the next, no matter how small or impossible her situation felt. Within a week, something subtle began to shift. The first change wasn't financial, it was emotional. She felt a lightness returning to her body, as if someone had opened a window in a room she had been trapped in for years. 2 days later, a neighbor asked if she could babysit in the afternoons. A few days after that, a small catering business nearby needed help preparing meals. None of these opportunities were dramatic, but they were new. They were openings. They were the first signs of expansion, and expansion always begins quietly. The rabbi nodded when she told him. "Words change what the mind notices," he said, "and the mind changes what the world offers." Over the months, Luzia's income grew. She repaired her roof, she paid her bills on time, she even started setting aside a small amount each week, something she had never imagined possible. When she told the rabbi she finally felt alive again, he smiled and said, "That's because you stopped declaring that you were finished." Her story is not unique. I've seen the same pattern countless times. Students, workers, business owners, people from every background. Their transformations differ in shape, but the root is always the same. A shift from resignation to expansion. You don't have to be Jewish to experience it. You don't have to be wealthy, educated, or spiritually trained. The principle works because it is human, not exclusive. Words mold the inner world, and the inner world shapes the outer one. What struck me most was how quickly these changes began. Not because the universe rushes, but because alignment removes resistance. The moment someone stops saying, "It's enough," and starts saying, "I'm growing," life reorients itself around that truth. And as the rabbi often reminded me, understanding these stories is not the end, it is the foundation. Because once you witness transformation in others, you become ready to understand the philosophy that explains why all of this works. The rabbi always insisted that prosperity was never meant to be a mystery. It is a language, he said, and once you learn its grammar, you can speak it fluently for the rest of your life. As I listened to the stories of transformation, I began to see the threads connecting them, the underlying philosophy that explained why a simple sentence spoken to a wallet could shift an entire destiny. It wasn't superstition. It wasn't positive thinking. It was an ancient understanding that words are the tools with which reality is carved. In the opening verses of Scripture, the world is not built with hands, but with speech. God said, and there was. Creation responds to articulation, and humans, made in that image, continue that process with their own voices. The rabbi explained this with a calm certainty that made the concept feel less mystical and more inevitable. When you speak, he said, you are not reporting life, you are shaping it. Jewish wisdom treats language as an act of architecture. Every phrase is a blueprint, every sentence a pillar. That is why careless words are dangerous. They are structures built without intention, shelters that collapse, walls that block sunlight. But intentional words, those carve pathways. He summarized the philosophy in 3 principles, the same ones I now offer you. First, words create worlds. Not metaphorically, but energetically and psychologically. Second, your declarations decide your direction. The moment you say you are growing, your inner compass points toward solutions instead of problems. Third, the vessel expands according to expectation. A wallet touched with gratitude and spoken into with purpose becomes symbolic permission for life to send more. What struck me was how this wasn't about greed. The rabbi despised greed. He said it makes the vessel smaller, not larger. This entire philosophy is about alignment, about matching your inner posture with the expansion you seek. You can choose stagnation, he told me once, but don't pretend it's fate. It's a declaration. And the opposite is also true. Choosing growth is not arrogance. It is obedience to the soul's nature. Then came his challenge, one I now extend to you. Test it for 7 days, he said. 7 mornings of speaking with intention. 7 mornings of honoring your wallet as a vessel instead of a burden. 7 mornings of declaring growth instead of survival. He wasn't promising miracles. He was promising movement. And movement is the beginning of all blessing. The transition from stagnation to expansion often happens in quiet ways. Clearer thoughts, unexpected opportunities, conversations that open doors previously unseen. When you shift your words, you shift your trajectory, and the world rearranges itself around your new direction. And as he closed that lesson, the rabbi hinted at something beyond all of this, something even more powerful than the morning ritual, something that deepens the flow instead of merely opening it. He said it gently, almost like a secret meant only for those who choose to continue the path. If you have followed each step of this journey, then you already feel the shift, small, subtle, but unmistakable. And now, as the rabbi brought me into the final lesson, he didn't raise his voice or wrap it in mystery. He simply returned to the essence, the foundation beneath everything, the power of refusing to shrink your world with careless words. Never say, "It's fine," he told me. Say, "Thank God I'm growing." Say, "Thank God I'm developing." Speak the truth your soul wants to live, not the lie that fear wants you to accept. His eyes softened then, the way they always did when he knew a teaching was about to land in the heart rather than the mind. He reminded me of every principle we had explored, that words are vessels, that the wallet is a symbol of the life you are willing to receive, and that growth is not an ambition but a spiritual responsibility. The moment you begin declaring expansion, the universe rearranges the pathways beneath your feet. The moment you say, "I'm growing," your inner world aligns with new possibility. And when your inner world expands, the outer must follow. It has no choice. That is the law of alignment, the quiet architecture of blessing. But he didn't end with theory. He ended with a blessing. He placed his hand on my shoulder, closed his eyes, and recited the ancient words that his father had spoken over him, and his grandfather before that. "May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace." The words felt like a warm light settling over my chest. Not a promise of ease, but a reminder of protection, clarity, and purpose. Then, before I stood to leave, he gave me one final instruction. Simple, symbolic, but powerful. "Share what you have learned," he said. "Abundance grows when it moves. Keep it for yourself and it withers. Give it and it multiplies." And so I pass the same request to you now. If this message opened something in you, if even one sentence shifted your understanding, then share it with 3 people who need it. Not as a favor, not as superstition, but as an act of spiritual generosity. You never know whose life may change because of a phrase that reaches them at the right moment. And with that, the lesson ended. Not with a dramatic close, but with a quiet, steady truth. Your words are the doorway. Your wallet is the vessel. Your morning is the key. Speak growth, speak gratitude, and speak expansion, and watch how life begins to answer in ways you never expected.